Fact or myth? It's a mythology. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Mythology Podcast, where we will talk about the different creation myths and cross-cultural beliefs. For today's episode, we will talk about the creation myths from around the world. The Song of Creation. Now, let us start.
The individual identities of the gods thus became blurred, and in their place arose the concept of one divine principle expressed in many forms. By the 10th and last book of the Rig Veda, the names of deities are purely functional. The four Vedas, which are the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharva Veda, were composed between 2000 and 900 BC for use in sacrificial rites where they were recited by officiating priests. So, one song of creation in Hindu myths is from the 10th book, or what they call as Mandala of the Rig Veda. Hymn number 121, the Hiranyagarbha Sukta. Hiranyagarbha, which literally translates as the golden embryo or the golden egg, is said to be the source of creation or the origin of the universe in early Hinduism. So, the hymn that we just read tells us that the creation of the universe started from a golden embryo that became the god of everything in the beginning. So, in the hymn, it is said that the golden embryo made the heavens and the earth. He is also considered the giver of life, power, and health, and he is also the Lord of death. When we add it all up, the golden embryo is mainly the ruler and creator of all the beings. Later on, in verse 10 of the hymn, the golden embryo was identified as Prajapati. It says here that Prajapati, none other than thou, had comprehended. So when we read throughout the hymn, Prajapati's origin is somewhat unclear. But in the 7th verse, it was referring to him that he is born from the primordial waters that moved, conceived the all as an embryo, giving birth to fire. As an embryo of fire, when he became the one life force, it's not just the gods he created, but also the opposition of it. So what is the opposition of gods? So these are the Asuras. So the Asuras are later understood as the demons. So what we can also notice in the hymn, there is a phrase that is emphasized. So this phrase is, what God shall we revere with oblation. So this phrase emphasizes the idea that behind all the deities, there is one supreme deity who is behind the creation, the one that shall be honored with offering. So to sum it up, Hiranyagarbha, or the golden embryo, later addressed with the name Prajapati, is the source of all creation and life in early Hinduism.
When we say Rig Veda, it is an ancient Indian collection of Vedic Sanskrit hymns. The first of the sacred books of Hinduism, the Rig Veda or Royal Knowledge, is a collection of 1028 hymns composed by the warring Aryans who came into India from the Iranian highlands way back 2000 to 1000 BC. The theology of the early books of the Rig Veda is similar to that found in myths of other Indo-European people to the extent that it is fundamentally polytheistic and nature-oriented. There exists one major difference, however. while the polytheism of other Indo-European groups gradually evolved into a kind of modified monotheism with one deity heading the pantheon, Vedism instead raised each deity, frequently credited with the attributes of the others, to a position of supremacy within the context of a given hymn. So another example of Rig Veda is Mandala 10, hymn 129, In the Beginning. Hymn 129 of Mandala 10 near the end of the Rig Veda is the most famous of these historic or classical style passages. These passages are very hard to understand. It is profound and sophisticated among all of creation myths. Profound because it's questioning not only of the origin of the world but also of materiality itself, not only of the gods but also of being itself, and sophisticated both in its recognition of the limitations of language and rationality in dealing with this issue and its tolerance of other possible answers. The myth asserts that the world did not arise out of being or not being, because the two are conceived as polar opposites, making it remarkable since this is the very first attempt in the history of humankind to philosophically comprehend the origin of the whole existence, the beginning of everything. The source that gave rise to either must therefore be prior to both. But language fails here. There are no words for such a condition, and so the Veda inevitably resorts to the negative terminology of neither this nor that, refusing to fix and limit what is by definition beyond categorization. This Veda recognizes that conceptual thinking, which is derivative of being, is insufficient in the task of portraying the origin of being. In the line, "Who knows whence this emanation hath arisen?" Perhaps God knows, but since God is the first creation, self-evolved, perhaps even He does not know. So the basic take on Rig Veda Mandala 10, hymn 129, In the Beginning, is that it presents thought as the true seed of creation. Also, the answer to the riddle of what is both existent and non-existent. Thoughts can be said to be both since they are impalpable and invisible, yet they definitely exist in the minds of the thinkers.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it to your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're living with some great things that can help you. Until next time!